Hello and welcome, and today we are here back to where the series all started, Darlington Raceway. So back in May when NASCAR returned to racing from the COVID-19 pandemic break, we had just done a video randomly. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do just a preview of NASCAR race. We've been doing that for F1 in 2019.
Okay, fast lap.
And I kind of wanted to do it for NASCAR, just never did. So you know what? I jumped in NASCAR Heat 4 and said, we're going to race Darlington. NASCAR's back. I'm excited. We're racing. And from there, I'm like, you know what? We're going to do Darlington again. The next race at Darlington. There's obviously being makeup races for canceled tracks. And then we just kept doing it. We've done it every single week since then. So we're back really to where this series kicked off back then on NASCAR Heat 4. So I'm ready. NASCAR Heat 5, first time at Darlington, Southern 500. Let's jump into it. We qualified 9th, so I'm feeling pretty confident in that. And our car is looking good. We're ready to go. It's going to be exciting. Of course, this here's the playoff opening race.
Keep your head on straight. Ready.
So,
Outside by itself.
Darlington's always fun with all the throwback schemes. There's a bunch of cool ones that came out.
Right side.
And I'm just super excited to see them all. I always love the idea at Darlington of doing throwback schemes. I think that it's cool to
Still there.
honor the history of the sport with other drivers. You know, iconic paint schemes, or even yourself as a driver, some of your maybe more iconic paint schemes that you might have raced early in your career. You know, something that just means a lot to you as a driver.
Car outside.
And it's so cool to sort of see those paint schemes on track, whether it's a sponsor doing it, or again, yourself as a driver, or honoring another driver. And since they did that, it's really cool to go to, you know, one of the oldest tracks in the calendar, Darlington, with already so much history, and to say we're going to do that, you know, one of the originals, one of the historic tracks in NASCAR. Because, I mean, if you think of historic NASCAR tracks, it's got to be Darlington and Martinsville right up there. Of course, Daytona has the history as well. But of like super historic tracks in NASCAR, it's really got to be like Darlington and Martinsville. It's so cool to see them do that type of throwback race there at Darlington. So of course, at the moment there are no throwback schemes in the game because the race hasn't happened yet. By the time this video goes up, it's still a few hours away from taking place. So obviously they're not in the game. We've seen some really cool ones that have been announced. I like the Kevin Harvick one. Obviously the Busch one, I did pre-order the diecast of that. I think that one's really awesome. That has the old Busch Series logo on the back of it, and listing the two championships the Kevin Harvick won. And I'm a big fan of the Jimmy Johnson one.
All right, clear outside.
His throwback where he honors the other two 7-time champions. Richard Petty's paint scheme sort of on the top of it, and Dale Earnhardt on the side. It's really cool to see like the mix of the Petty blue with the Dale Earnhardt iconic like black paint scheme, a little bit of silver on the bottom there, with the number 48. It just sort of combines so well, I think, the 3 7-time champions in the sport. And to have Jimmy Johnson, the current, like, most recent one on there, and then the other two that people really thought would be the only ones, I think, for a long time to be 7-time champions, you know. And to have Richard Petty's,
You're all clear up top.
you know, STP logo there, or not STP logo, but STP like colors, and then the logo with the circle with the ally on it there on the hood. That's really nice, and you know, having the font of the numbers like that, and then to have the side, you know, be black with the styling direction of the numbers, everything to be like the 3 car is very cool as well. So it's awesome to see. And who would have thought? Here we go, playoff video preview. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick battling on the track.
Clear.
Even in the video game, Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are the top 2 cars. Who would have thought? slightly into the wall there, but you're not going to... It's not Darlington if you don't slightly hit the wall, is it? But yeah, if you think of like the really, really like cool paint schemes some of these drivers have, I'm just thinking back to cool ones that I remember seeing that have been announced for this year. What else do we have? I know that the Hendrick ones are really cool. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman especially. Those two are really cool with the throwbacks of the 2006 and 2009 cars. With the blue from the Lowe's styling. I think, I don't remember who's got 2006 with the 9. Who's got which one? I think that Chase Elliott got the 2006 one. Both of them are really, really cool. And then, of course, William Byron does have a cool one, but his is like a throwback to the... Who's this? Oh, DiBenedetto's got a problem. Yeah, I mean, William Byron's is interesting. It's a throwback to, like, what, 2013 All-Star win? It's not really an all-time iconic Jimmy Johnson paint scheme, but I think they more just went with that paint scheme to sort of fit with Liberty University as a sponsor. You know, sort of the white and the blue of Liberty University. I think it sort of goes with their coloring of the sponsor, and I think it's like, oh, Jimmy Johnson paint scheme. So, I mean, I think it looks cool, but I just think that it's not like as iconic of a paint scheme. But either way, it's still cool nonetheless. And I mean, it's the same, like, it's the same thing when they do other paint schemes for other drivers that are really, like, cool like that. For throwbacks, Stuart Haas last year had some awesome ones. 3 of the 4 drivers throwback paint schemes to Tony Stewart's championships as sort of celebration of getting in the Hall of Fame, and all 4 of them with things saying getting in the Hall of Fame. So,
Clear all around.
and it was cool that Kevin Harvick was orange. I don't know if it was intentional to do the big buck hunter with the bush
You're clear.
to be orange, but it does sort of fit with that on his car at that point. So it looks like everybody's pitting here to end this stage.
Clear left.
I made the mistake of not pitting at that moment, so that's probably absolutely going to kill this race here.
That car ahead of you is hitting.
But the good thing is if I can just go around here and try to lap as many cars as possible, I can still be in a decent position when I do have to pit. I shouldn't lose too many spots pitting. Because all these cars are just going to be,
Car there on the inside. Clear all around.
you know, a lap down, so they're not going to gain as much on me. Just going to spin it out here. Why not? Why not? Why not? Keep it out of trouble.
Way to go, driver. Power
Awesome.
on the caution.
That was absolute garbage. I should have pit. I really should have pit that last lap, but everybody's a lap down besides Joe Logano. So, and I mean, some cars are 2 laps down, so that absolutely hurt them terribly. So, we can pit here, do what we have to do. We'll only come out in 3rd, or 1st actually. So, it didn't hurt us that bad.
All right, be smart out there. Going green.
Most of the cars got to pit anyways, so we also went into the same spot.
Car outside.
But yeah, just thinking back to those paint schemes, as we were talking about before, I think about it loud here at the end of the stage. You know, the 41, 10, and 14 doing throwbacks to those 3 championship winning cars. The 10 and the 41 having the orange Home Depot style paint schemes from the 2002 and 2005 championship. And then the 14 car with the throwback to the 14 cars paint scheme from, you know, 2011 with the Office Depot. Old Spice-like vibe believe Old Spice had in the car that year. So yeah, the Office Depot look for those and the Home Depot look for the two cars. Really, really awesome. And again, I don't know if the 4 car with the big buck hunter being the one used in that race was intentional to be orange for that race, or that's just the throwback that they picked, but it was very cool. Either way, the Street House car from last season. And then, of course, you know, seeing like
All clear.
just the throwbacks that a bunch of these cars bring out every year is super cool. And that's what I love about Darlington. Seeing the throwback cars on an old track, you know, the history of it, the history of some of the centers from the base, seeing the history of a sport. Whether or not their paint schemes from, you know, 50s, 60s, whatever, where they don't have as much to them. Just, you know, some writing on the hood with, like, you know, maybe more basic colors to just all around iconic paint schemes all the way up to, you know, 2010s. I mean, you had some iconic ones even 10 years ago. And we're seeing throwbacks to those cars. You know, we saw Joe Logano last year, the throwback to Kevin Harvick car, which is kind of ironic to have Joe Logano do a Kevin Harvick throwback, but, you know, that being his old sponsor. Now sponsoring Joe Logano. Like, it's just cool to see that. And
Smart. Keep your head on straight. Pace cars off. Be ready. Got one.
it's really cool to have more and more teams involved. Because I remember the first year there wasn't that many.
5 to go. This time by.
When they tried it in 2015, when they moved the race back to the Labor Day weekend. But now you have that more. And again, just doing it at Darlington. I think Darlington just fits so well. Because again, it's one of those just old tracks. One of those iconic tracks. And, you know, it's a shame that there's not that many of those old iconic tracks left. I mean, you really have, you know, Darlington, Martinsville, Daytona's kind of old, Talladega's fairly old, like, but, you know, those two super speedways are not really like original, like, first few seasons kind of tracks. And it's kind of a shame that there's really just Darlington and Martinsville, not like, you know, they've been here since almost the beginning of the sport. I know Martinsville's been there since 1948. I think Darlington's like 1950 or something. So, you know, to have those two, like, on the calendar like that. I mean, yeah, you can look at old tracks and you can say, oh, Indianapolis is old, but Indianapolis history for NASCAR isn't that old. That's from the 90s. It's not like, it's not something they raced for NASCAR forever. So, and the track that really comes to mind that's like a shame that's not there is North Wilkesboro. I know everybody wants that track to come back, and it'd be really cool. And really seeing it during the iRacing, you know, stuff earlier in the year, during the break when that was the last track that they raced, and Dale Jr. had it like scanned, and, you know, he helped put it in the game, and, you know, seeing that, it's so cool. And I wish the tracks like that would be in, you know, something like NASCAR Heat. It'd be so fun to go to older tracks. You could have North Wilkesboro and Rockingham and things like that, but to see a track on North Wilkesboro so historic to NASCAR, and just the way it got yeeted, and learning that history, it is just very unfortunate that they're just like, we won another race in New Hampshire, and we won another race in, I don't know, Texas or something. I think it might have been Texas, I don't know, but one of those. I know Texas was involved in some way. It's just a shame to see such an old historic track, which should be on the calendar still.
You took that stage. Great job.
You know, with Darlington and with Martinsville just be falling apart and overgrown, and just sort of sitting there abandoned, even though it's still owned by, you know, the Motor Speedway Corporation. You know, to see that type of track just sitting there historic, falling apart, is very much a shame.
Are there on the outside?
And, you know, to see that's disappointing, and at least to have Martinsville and at least have,
You're clear.
you know, Darlington but you want to see more of them, and it's very unfortunate that it's just not possible. I'd love to see them bring a track back like that, revive, North Wilkesboro, revive Rockingham, one of those old tracks, but I don't know how much sense that makes from a financial standpoint. I know that a track like Rockingham, I've seen things where they're working on it still, and they used it for the trucks a few years ago. But it's just to the point where I guess their governor's trying to put money into it. I saw that for like 2020, 2021, something like that. I don't know, get it like revitalized or something. So that'd be kind of cool, but I think North Wilkesboro being brought back, it's just too far gone, unfortunately. Because historically speaking, that track is very important. So that type of thing's just a shame to see. So, it's good for there to be a NASCAR tracks like Darlington where you can do a historic event. And throw back to the history of that. So I'm just glad that not every single track that is an old historic track got yeeted for some massive, super fancy facility and, they're all the same design. And that's what makes Darlington cool. Sometimes the racing there I may find boring, but that's just more the package of the cars. If you get these cars where they can go up there and pass and race each other, Darlington is such a good race like it used to be. I mean, the shape of it's unique, it's got different shaped corners. You don't see that at tracks now. You just see the same boring layout of a 1.5-mile track. I can just list 1.5-mile tracks.
All clear.
People can try to say, especially when they're on the broadcast or especially NBC as well. They really try to tell you how they're all different. But it's just they're all the same. They're, you go to Texas, you go to Las Vegas, you go to Kentucky, you go to Kansas, you go to Atlanta, you go to Charlotte. They're all relatively the same track. They're all 1.5-mile tracks that are got a semi-little tri-oval. Maybe one bends a little bit more, maybe one's a little bit more straight. But you see something especially if you take Las Vegas and Texas, they're so similar. And actually, I think it's Kansas and Las Vegas are very similar. And then you take Texas, Atlanta, and Charlotte, and they're so similar. And it's just so unfortunate that we just have the same exact track layout. So just these big tracks that all look the same. So hopefully, when you see something. Initially, I think 2021 schedule will have potential to really shake things up, but I think that going forward in the future, we need to have a better schedule shake up with more unique tracks like Darlington. And I know obviously we can't bring back these old historic tracks that much, but just to get something that can create future history of these tracks that aren't, I feel like they have to be unique and they have to have something happen. You don't really talk about the history of racing at, Texas, Las Vegas. I mean, Charlotte, I guess you could say, because Charlotte was the first one. So I'd be fine with Charlotte, but I just think we have so many copycats of Charlotte, Charlotte's fine the way it is, and I don't, particularly say, yeah, let's yeet Charlotte. Charlotte's the one that I think you can keep. And I'd say Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of fun. Atlanta and Charlotte are two that I'm okay with. But you get something it's more and more and more of these. So as much as people have said, okay, maybe the Nashville Super Speedway isn't necessarily going to be super exciting, I am excited to see a different track layout, a 1.3 mile, sort of more specific oval, more almost like this. Darlington shape-wise, rather than, the same mile-and-a-half layout of other tracks. So I'm excited for it. I mean, being concrete, we'll see how it races. And it is unfortunate, in a sense, to lose Dover being the way that it is. But again, Dover wasn't that exciting. Dover's not one of those really, really exciting tracks, so it's not a shame that much. I think that, you know, getting new tracks like Gateway, potentially, which is, again, more of a oval than a weird shaped oval, I guess, you know what I mean? A tri-oval kind of thing. That's what all those tracks are, tri-ovals. So to get a specific just oval, I think is a lot more interesting. And I think, again, more road courses. We need more road courses. I think we can go up to like 7 or 8 road courses this season. You know, I think that, you know, having 3 is cool. But I think we go up to 7 or 8. You get Road America. You get Daytona Road Course. You can get, you know, Circuit of the Americas. We can get so many other road courses that we can have a really awesome schedule. And, you know, have these tracks that we can create new history at for NASCAR. It is fun and exciting. Because, again, it all comes back to the history of the sport. And that's why we're talking about this. Because Darlington has so much history. And seeing the historical paint schemes on the tracks makes you want to have exciting tracks with historical races and things like that. So that's what we got on this calendar. That's how we got on this discussion of the calendar. Was, you know, talking about how it is a shame to not have these tracks like North Wilkesboro anymore, Rockingham, which are old, unique tracks. So hopefully there'll be more unique tracks on the calendar and more tracks to create really, really cool history for the sport. But we're going to come across the line and win the playoff opening race of the Southern 500, which I think is really cool as well. As much as I don't like the playoffs, and I think the playoffs are kind of just lame, it is cool, I guess, to have such a historic track be the opening race and such an important track, one of the crown jewel races, be an opening for the playoffs if we have to have playoffs, which we don't, but you get the point. You get the point. We don't have to have playoffs, but it is cool to have something add to the playoffs in the beginning, a crown jewel event to start it off. So there you go, winning here in Darlington. Super, super exciting. And it's just a great all-around race here. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think about some of the things that I mentioned here in this video. And also let me know your thoughts on how much you don't like the playoffs down below. Because honestly, I think the playoffs are kind of lame. I think we should just crown a champion based on whoever has the best season that year. And not based on who has the best final race of the season. You know, who has the best 3-race stretch. I think that what they've done with stages and the points carrying over since 2017 is a bit of an improvement. I thought in 14, 15, and 16 where any point that you earned only helped you in the first round is kind of lame. So the fact that you can earn all these points throughout the season with stages and whatever else you can get, regular season champion points or whatever the hell, that gets broken down by. I think that's a little bit better that you can have a good season and it does help you at least advance to the round of 8. And really does put you in a good spot to advance to the round of 4. Because again, the way the points break down right now, there's absolutely no reason that Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin should not be in the championship 4. And they have enough points at least to really give them a buffer that they have a good shot to make it into that on a win. Because they've been the best drivers all season. There's no way. And honestly, Kevin Harvick's been the best driver by a lot, points-wise. So if he doesn't win the championship, it's just absolutely stupid. And last year, I don't even know who the best driver was in 2019, but whoever it was, I don't think it was Kyle. And 2018, it was not Joey Logano. So hopefully the right driver will win this season. But the playoffs are here. 9 races to go to decide the champion. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And we'll see you guys in the next